Don't Give Up Show with Jacquie Wayans. Inspiration through word and song for you.
Hello and welcome to Don't Give Up and Win. I am your host, Jacquie Wayans. I'm so glad to be with you and to bring you a new episode where we are actually going to discuss something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is Christians being in the entertainment industry. For many years, it was considered taboo, and the myth has been that it just isn't a place where we belong. And of course, I disagree with that. I want to share with you, I remember being about 20 or so, and I was sharing with a youth leader all about what it is to be in my passion and to live out my career in acting and singing and dancing. And after pouring my heart out to him, he looks at me and he says, "So you mean you want to be a nurse or a teacher?" And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, when did I say that? And he went on to explain to me how it was just not an appropriate career field for a Christian to be in. And I'm talking about 1990s, guys. We're not talking about the 60s or the 70s. And so we have evolved and we have come very, very far. And I'm thankful to say that I have two guests with us tonight who love the Lord and who are doing great things in that arena. And first up, we have Pete Duncanson. Take a look at this, and when we come back, we'll be talking with him.
In a pot, a tree takes root, but the pot makes all the decision where the roots get to go. So it goes around in circles or squares or whatever shape the pot happens to be.
It's like these voices in my head.
Voices? Who's talking inside your head? What are you afraid of?
And that was a clip trailer from The Tiger and the Guru, which was written and penned by you, Peter Duncanson, written and directed. Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you very much, Jackie, for having me here. It's wonderful.
Well, we're going to get right into this discussion. I'm excited when I see people, especially people that I know or watch grow up in a certain arena. And, we actually shared going to the same assembly, the same church environment. And I am sure that you probably had moments when you felt like this is the thing that I want to do, where it might have been discouraged or dampened a little bit. So I just wanted to ask you to share that with us, talk to us about when you had the discovery that this is what I want to do and that initial response to that.
Actually, since I was a kid, since I was probably in kindergarten, but in the culture that we grew up in, you can't do that. It wasn't for you. And so, I would do everything, but I never even considered it at all until I was in college, and I had a good friend ask me if you could do, anything you wanted, and I just, dropped everything, and those words came to my mind, and I thought, you know what, I would love to, make movies. Firstly, be an actor, but these days to be an actor, you have to make the movie, you have to produce it, you have to do everything.
You do, that's true.
But even then, it was still sort of something I didn't really, jump into as something as a career path. It was something that I did as a hobby because I still had this idea in my head, from so long that you can't be a Christian.
You can't do it, yeah.
And be an actor.
Right.
You can't be a Christian and make movies.
So what about your home life? What was reinforced there in terms of with your parents Some parents are like, you can be all that you can be, and others are, definitely are still.
It was, you can be anything except an actor.
I love it. Anything except an actor. Okay, so.
I mean, and to tell you the truth, it really, lingered with me. The culture that we grew up in, both of us, was very, against that sort of thing. No,
right.
Against most of the arts, no dancing, no.
Singing, acting,
singing,
anything.
except singing a certain way.
Singing gospel music, Christian music, yeah.
But,
and even then, it couldn't be like. At that time, Kurt Franklin was considered like the worst thing in the universe.
And
right?
yes, and I mean, I needed some room for Nina Simone and.
Absolutely.
And anyway, so I forgot what I was saying, which I often do.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Peter, we're gonna get into this some more, and we're going to actually introduce another friend that we know, which is Reggie Austin. He's doing some great work himself. He did a lot of commercial work, and he's also done series work as well. And you have movie credits to your name, and so I'm going to get into this a little deeper as we come back. So I'm looking forward to talking some more about this topic and encouraging you to let you know that whatever gift or talent God has given you, there is an arena for it. You just have to pray and be wise, all right? When we return.
Pulitzer Prize-winning author Herman Wouk once wrote, "Within the rectilinear boundaries of 114th Street and 120th Street, of Broadway and Morningside Drive, there is a peaceful oasis of the life of the mind, defiantly independent of the surrounding marketplace racket of Manhattan. The best things of the moment were outside the rectangle of Columbia. The best things of all human history and thought were inside. If only you had the sense, you could spend 4 years in an unforgettably exciting and improving alternation between two realms of magic. That doubled magic is lasting me a lifetime." All my writings, such as they are, trace back in one sense or another to my 4 years at Columbia.
Don't you give up now. Don't you give up now.
Welcome back to Don't Give Up and Win. Has been a privilege just speaking with Pete Duncanson and finding out a little bit about the challenges he faced, but we're going to actually go deeper into this subject about being a Christian and being in the entertainment industry. And our next guest is going to be calling in. His name is Reggie Austin, and he's been acting for well over a decade, if not more. And I was so pleasantly surprised when I tuned into my very favorite show. Anything Marvel makes me happy. I love superheroes. There's a little red for Iron Man in my hair today. And one of the things that I noticed in season 2 of Agent Carter, I'm looking and the co-star is Reggie Austin. I'm thinking, this is awesome. This is great. And I was really excited to see that he stuck to his dream. He stuck to his passion despite any challenges that he may have faced within or without. So take a look at this clip, and when we get back, we'll be talking with Reggie live.
It worked. It worked. Wonderful.
Congratulations, Doctor.
Sorry. It's been a long time coming.
quite, it's quite all right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That was such an awesome season because this actor got to do everything. He got to do action. He got to do romance. He got to do superhero sci-fi. I think it was like just a role of a lifetime. So, but I'm sure it doesn't stop there. Reggie Austin, thank you so much for being with us today. Welcome to the show.
No, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it is a pleasure. I remember even getting a little advice from you when I was, we went to the same assembly, same church for a while there, and you were telling me about commercials and agents and things like that. But I respect your perseverance. I respect the fact that you locked into this and you did not let it go. So why don't we step back a little bit and you share with the audience, as you know, when did you realize that this was your thing, your passion, and what were some of the challenges, the obstacles, the words that were said to you to hinder you from going in that direction?
Well, I mean, I first knew I wanted to be an actor, at least professionally, probably when I was about 16. It was a long process. When I realized, I enjoy acting a lot, and you could do it and be paid for it. It's like, that sounds like a perfect combination. So let's look into that. So I went to college, got a degree, and then came out, started pursuing my career shortly thereafter, at least in earnest. I think in terms of obstacles, the obstacles sort of came mostly from outside. Like especially when you're a Christian, there's oftentimes things happen where you are expected to do and be a certain way, and especially in the church that we grew up in, there's this sense of, if you were a Christian, you are blank, and there's a certain assumption that people put on you, but that assumption isn't necessarily, in fact, a lot of the time, sadly, it's not based on what's in the Bible. And if you're a Christian, you live based on what the Bible says, not based on what culture does or what a group of people tend to do. So for a while, it was, you can't be a Christian and be an actor. That's basically what, if I wasn't told directly, I was made to think.
Right.
I think that just went across so many things. You can't be a Christian and be in politics, that wicked arena. You can't be a Christian and be a businessman. There's so many unscrupulous, terrible things that happen.
Right.
And it took a while for me to realize that, and recognize that God needs his people everywhere. And if whatever reasons you could possibly give for not doing something, unless it is outright sin, which it isn't, then you have no reason not to be doing it. So if let's say, okay, fine, if you want to say that these are wicked places or these terrible things are happening here, you're hanging out with a bunch of sinners. Yeah, I know someone who did that a lot. His name was Jesus, and I believe I'm supposed to model him in all that I do. So I'm going to go hang out with those sinners. I'm going to go get to know them and love on them in that arena.
Right. You said something very interesting to me when we were chatting, and you feel that love is really the key element in what changes the environment or draws people in. Can you talk to us a little bit of what you found as you've engaged with people in your arena and how love has made the difference?
No, absolutely. It's something that I think that it's a simple and obvious thing that people forget it. They will know you're Christians by your love for one another. Christians should be marked by love. And I think a lot of times what happens is that as Christians, we're called to be set apart, and we are. But as a result, when we see the world, see those who aren't Christians behaving in ways that non-Christians do, instead of continuing to reach out to them in love, we are being set apart somehow. Somehow we start to think that being set apart means pushing others away. That's where I feel that we got lost somewhere. So way back, and I think my ministry, my career, and everything that I do, it's about meeting these people who may not believe what I believe, and also then think certain things about, oh, you're a Christian? Oh, that must mean you fill in the blank with something negative.
Right.
And it's about, like, yes, I am a Christian. Yes, I believe the Bible is true, but my job is to love you.
Right.
And my job is to show you the love of God.
I love that.
and-
I love that. Because being set apart does not mean that you don't have the ability to love on that person and love on that individual. And this Devon Franklin is this wonderful producer, actor, and one of the things he said is that his faith was telling him not to go into Hollywood also. But he said, wait a minute, the powerful, wonderful God that you're telling me about in the Word, you're telling me he's not going to be a powerful God in Hollywood also? And so he took it on as a challenge. So you do have to even be more grounded in your faith, I would think. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to speak to both Reggie and Pete and give you some tips on what you can do in order to be more effective in pursuing this dream or goal.
If I got to go to college, oh my goodness. I like discovering new things. You get to see what works for you and what doesn't. That helps you evolve as a person. And you get to make like a supernova of skill or talent or whatever it is. I've always wanted to go to college. I just feel like that's my destiny. My name is Queen, and I am your dividend.
Don't you give up now. Don't you give up now.
All your life, you are told things you cannot do. They will say you're not good enough, strong enough, talented enough. They will tell you no, and you will tell them yes. Nike. Life's too short to worry about impressing other people. What really matters about a credit card is how it impresses me. With MasterCard, anything is possible. So forget about impressions. Give me possibilities. Some might choose a lecture or a documentary to tell the story of 125 years of winemaking. We prefer a glass. Beringer, all we are in every bottle. Get any phone free, only at Verizon, when you buy the hot new Samsung Omnia with its huge 4-inch screen. Get a free Samsung Galaxy, a Wave, or any other phone in our lineup. Offer ends September 30th, only at Verizon.
Welcome back to Don't Give Up and Win. I know you're thinking, what was that? Well, what that is something that we hear every single day. Every commercial that we watch or listen to on the radio, there's someone's voice who does that. And all of those voices you just heard were Pete Duncanson's voice. Wow, you are talented, brother. You can go deep and then you can be, I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Very, that's a skill. That is definitely a skill and a gift. And, you know, it's so interesting because the very first soundbite, it was talking about the they, this elusive they, and what they say you can't do and you can't achieve. And that really fits very much in line with our discussion and what we're talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the they can be almost anybody. We all grew up with those days, you know.
Yes.
The culture that we grew up in, I was able to shed, you know, early on, later than some, you know. But the thing for me was my dad's voice in my head, you know, which always kept me from hearing the still small voice within myself, you know. You know, that still small voice that God gives. You know, anything that you have a passion for, you know, that's God's voice saying, you know, this is what I'm giving to you.
Do that.
You know?
Absolutely.
And so
I think that's a great point. In fact, Reggie, when we were talking, you said there was a scripture that really grounded you and it helped you to hold on and pursue this thing, and that was in Ecclesiastes. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, definitely. Growing up, I remember when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I would watch just adults in general, both Christians and non-Christians, talk about work and talk about Monday morning, the alarm clock, and it's basically hating your job. And the thing that always struck me was the wisest man who ever lived, Solomon, wrote a book, and the whole book talked about how he had everything. He experienced and took part in everything. Wealth, riches, power, women, everything you could ever want, and said it's all worthless, it's pointless. So it's chapter upon chapter of this is pointless, this is vanity of vanities, this is pointless. And then a couple verses, every few chapters, a couple verses, he says, but this is good. And it just stands out. It's like, oh my gosh, all this pointless, what's worthless, but this is good. Well, what's good? And one of the things he says, I think it's Ecclesiastes, I think it's chapter 3, 2 or 3, where he says that a man finds joy in his labor and what he sets hands to do.
Yes.
And if the wisest man on earth says, you should love what you do, if you can all help it, love what you do, then how smart are you?
Yes.
If you can work towards making that happen.
Yes, definitely. And he also said there as well, he says, whatever your hands find to do it with all your might. And the summation of that was like, listen, this life is going to be over at some point. And so if there is something that can bring you joy while you're here, do that. Because it's when we're bringing that joy that our light is actually shining. And that people see that, like you're this little kid, Reggie, and you're seeing people just dreading going to work on Monday. That doesn't inspire you.
I bought into that for a while.
Yes.
So.
what did you initially end up doing as a career? What path did you feel forced to go into, so to speak?
Well, I became a geologist.
Wow.
And that was tough. That was a tough 3 years right out of college, and then I found a compromise.
Okay.
And I was a teacher.
Okay.
And I found and that journey took me to a place where it was wonderful, and I enjoyed it, but there wasn't. After several years, it was still just, okay.
Yeah, is this all there is? Is this all that life has to offer?
And I think that'll happen unless you see that, unless you follow that vision. And so, I had to take the long journey, like the Israelites.
Yes.
And I had to learn those lessons through the desert.
Yes.
To get to the promised land, so to speak.
Yeah, I took a long journey too. I'm just getting here to be with all of you.
Now's time for the Don't Give Up and Win takeaway moment.
I just wanted to take a moment to encourage you. As our guest today, Pete Duncanson, said, sometimes it takes us a little while to figure out our destiny, our purpose, where we belong in life. And for me, it was a major detour. When I went away to college the first time, I studied communications, dancing and acting, and I was doing great. And then I came to New York City and decided I was going to be a star. I started pounding the pavement, and I realized how excruciatingly difficult it was. I mean, I'd walk into one studio house and they'd say, you look too exotic, and another place would tell me I look too commercial. I'd cross the street and another place would say, you're too dark, and another place would say, you're too light. And it was just a lot. And then when you had the challenge of people within your household of faith telling you that this wasn't a place that you belonged, well, I just settled and I let go of that dream, and it lay dormant for decades. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to pray, I want you to listen, and then go ahead and take action and do what God is calling you to do. So that's the takeaway moment for today.
What if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Don't you give up now. Don't you give up now.
I'd like each of you to take a minute and speak to someone who's listening to the show. They feel like they belong in front of the camera and behind the camera. And, Christian movies themselves have come a long way, and there's more room for that. And the industry now allows you to do your own production a lot easier than it was before. But what would you tell them as the most realistic thing they need to know about moving into this industry? Reggie, I'll start with you. 1 minute.
Basically that takes hard work. I think that's the other thing. Even with, you know, God on your side and His favor and Him looking upon you, and you need that, you better be seeking Him for sure. But that doesn't mean that you don't have a lot of work to do, that you don't need to put in that effort. We're called to do things excellently as unto Him. So the idea of just like, oh, I want to do this and pray about it and leave it and then just sit back, that's not going to cut it.
Right.
So I think it's just being willing to do the hard work, being ready to hear no a lot, and just committing everything that you're doing to Him as you work hard.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, and thank you for your time. I know you also involved with play productions and other wonderful things, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of you, Reggie.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. And Pete, you're up. What do you got?
Before I say that, Reggie, peace and love, brother. I will see you soon.
All right.
I like it.
What I would say is find that thing that continues to call you, you know. When I got into this entertainment business full time, people said, oh, you're doing your dream, you know. And I thought about that, and it was really the other way around. It was sort of this dream chasing me, you know.
Interesting.
Because I had tried to run away from it for so many years, but it just never left my psyche. It never left, you know, inside. So if there's something that you love, get out there and do it. I don't care if it's, you know, making pottery, selling clothing, making clothing, whatever butterfly, whatever it is.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
when you do it, like Reggie says, you know, and you love it, and you do it to the best of your ability, to God's glory, then that's being in God's will.
Yes, absolutely.
Not trying to fit into the culture.
Right. Or the mold
Or
of
the
what
mold
you're saying
of what
is
you think it
acceptable.
is, of what you think is acceptable.
Yes.
And you can only get there, and some people just get it like that, you know. And for others,
It takes
you know,
a while.
take some time.
It takes a while. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing. We definitely have your contact information so people can follow up and see the work that you and Reggie are doing. And for those of you who are viewing, I want you to go ahead and be your very own best hero, because the greatest hero of all said you were worth it when he gave his life for you on the cross.